Hey guys, my name is Haley and today I'm going to be filming a book haul because I have too many books that have not been hauled yet because it's been a couple of months. So we're gonna get straight on into it because there's just too many. So the first book I bought since the last time I did a haul was Tattoo Atlas, which I have since read and loved. And this is by Tim Florine. He has another book called Willful Machines, and this is a very much YA sci-fi, but it's a very, very good one, so I do recommend. The next things I bought were the second and third books in the Wayward Pines trilogy, which is Wayward and The Last Town. I bought The Devil of Nanking by Mo Hader. This is a book I know nothing about except that I think it's about the rape of Nanking, I want to say. Kate recommended it. She said it's really gory and creepy, and I think it might be what Poppy Horror was based off of. I honestly don't know too much about this, but I plan to read it in October, so I'm very excited to finally have it, because this is a book I've heard of for a long time, but just never knew exactly what it was about. I bought Neverworld Wake by Marisha Pessl. This was a book I listened to on audio and absolutely adored, so I needed a physical edition of it. Then we have The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. This is a magical realism-y contemporary, which I've been really into magical realism this year. Like, I've tried to read more of it, so this seemed like a good one. I know Kate loved it and read it. A lot of these books are because Kate loved it and read it, or a lot of her book haul are vice versa, because I loved it and she bought it and read it. So we're just feeding each other's book buying addictions, apparently. Next up is probably my favorite book of the year so far, and that is The Book of M by Pang Shepard. I listened to this one on audio as well, and it is just so good. I have since learned that this post-apocalyptic dystopian, but when it's adult, it's called like speculative fiction, apparently, is what I think it would be categorized as. I know Hank Green's book that's coming out is speculative fiction, but I didn't know that's what this genre was called. But this is fantastic. It's about people who start to lose their shadows, and when they lose their shadows, they lose their memories. And then I finally picked up a copy of The Neverending Story. This is a book I read in middle school, and this is one of my favorite childhood movies. I needed to reread the book of it because I remember absolutely nothing from reading it in middle school, and this cover is stunning. I bought The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakovic. I also intend to buy the rest of this trilogy because I read this first one and really, really loved it. So I really like that these are like these weird buttery editions, and they're like tiny little books in comparison to like a normal sized paperback too. So I was gonna try and find a normal sized paperback, but there are literally none in easy reach. Like, this is a normal sized trade paperback, and they're like these little tiny ones. So yeah, I really like these editions. Next up are two contemporaries. One is a mystery and one is, okay, it has mystery elements. The first being Exit Pursued by a Bear by E.K. Johnston, and then Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson, which I'm now realizing that their last names are very similar, but I picked these two up after listening to them on audiobook, which is the theme for a lot of books in this book haul apparently, but I needed them in physical edition. Next up, I finally picked up my own copy of Death Note Volume 1 and 2, which is Volume 1 of the Black Editions. I read this series last year, I think, and I borrowed them from my friend, and I finally decided to start collecting them for myself. So I only have the first one so far. Then I went to a used bookstore, a local used bookstore near my house. Like, it's probably a 10-minute walk from my house, and I picked up a couple books. I picked up Grave Peril by Jim Butcher, which is the next book in the Dresden Files, which I actually really love, and I'm very excited to continue with this series. And I also picked up Black by Ted Dekker, which was $5, as you can see. I know this is a book that is considered, I believe, a Christian thriller, which very much intrigues me. I don't know how that works, but I'm very excited to find out. I know this is a trilogy, and I think there might be an extra fourth book, but I know for the most part it's a trilogy. And it's very confusing that the name of the book is Black and the book is actually green. That's why I can never remember the names of books in this series. I completely on a whim, based on Pierre Ford's recommendation, bought Malice by John Gwynne, and this book is huge. Like, it's bigger than my face, and it's very thick, and I literally know nothing except that it's the start of a fantasy trilogy. I'm such a bad booktuber, I don't know what any of these synopsises are. Next up is The Tiger's Daughter by Kate Arsenault Rivera. This is another recommendation from Kate, and literally she was just raving about it while she was reading it, and it came up for $4 on Thrift Books, so that's why I bought it. And I know it's told in like letter format, so I think that will make it go pretty quick, even though it's kind of thick. Next up, I picked up 2 books from the thrift store, one of them being The Crucible, which is a play by Arthur Miller. I didn't realize Arthur Miller was the same author of The Crucible, which is a play I've always wanted to see, as well as I think Death of a Salesman is by him, which seems like 2 very, very different plays, so I'm very curious, but this is definitely a very beat up old copy. But I've always wanted to see this show, so I figured I might as well read it in its play form. Then I picked up Drama because it was at the thrift store, and you guys know I love books that have to do with theater, and this is just a little theater-based graphic novel. I think it's a middle grade, but that's fine because I love theater-based things. Then I finally found Scythe by Neil Shusterman at Books A Million for like $5 in hardcover, and I could not pass it up. So I immediately gasped in the store, grabbed it, and took it home with me. But I really like Neil Shusterman, and this is a series I think I'm really, really gonna like, so I'm very, very excited to finally have a copy of it. And then last but not least, I got 4 Christian nonfictions. One of them's a devotional. I don't know if this is a nonfiction, but these are the Christian books I've picked up in the last couple of months. First of them being The Shack by William P. Young. I know Oshina and most Christians actually that have read this really, really like it. I think that does have controversy surrounding it, maybe because of the movie. I don't really know. But I trust Oshina's opinion, and she really loves this book. She's read it multiple times, so I figured I saw it for 40 cents in a thrift store and I needed to pick it up. We have Extreme Devotion, which is daily devotional stories of ancient and modern day believers who sacrificed everything for Christ. This is by Voice of the Martyrs, which is an organization that I follow and have read books by before. And this is a devotion with like these pretty deckled edges, and it was cheap in my local used bookstore and I couldn't pass it up, and the lady gave me a huge discount on it because it was the end of the day, and I was like, thank you. But I'm really excited to do this as a devotion. And then the other 2 are more random, and I think might even be self-published books, so I don't know how well known these are. The first of them being This Gospel, a collection of mission sermons by Dick Brogden. I believe the preacher is Dick Brogden, but this is a collection of sermons that he did all over the world for missions. And I actually saw this on, her Instagram name is Miss Brittany Lou, and she also has a YouTube channel because she's a stay-at-home mom, so she does stay-at-home mom type vlog videos. But she shouted this out on her Instagram stories, and I thought it sounded really interesting. I've never read a book of like a collection of actual sermons, and this is done by a group called Live Dead, which is not a group that I'm familiar with, but I'm very excited to read this. I really like reading about missionaries in general, so if you have any good like missionary books, please let me know, but I'm very excited to dive into this one. It's also just a really, really pretty book. And then last but not least, I got Worth It, which is by Nicole M. Arnold. Her last name is actually Nicole Soto now. She just got married. But she is an apostolic girl who is part of the same religious organization that I am. And she wrote this when she was 19. She's like in her 20s now. But it's really short, and I've always wanted to read it. And I also just really wanted to support her, so I bought this. Also, it has this really pretty quote on the back that says, "I hope you realize that the truth is you will never find yourself in the way that our culture would have us discover ourselves. You will never know who you are supposed to be until you realize who he is." Also, I just really love the cover, and it's just a cute little book, and I'm excited to like read and annotate it, hopefully. This is not even remotely all of them, but these are as many as I can hold without dropping them. So thank you all for watching, and I will see all of you guys next time.